Hi, I'm Rachel,
And hi, I'm Anna.
and you're listening to the first episode of A 20-something Take. This episode is all about college, part one. To introduce ourselves, my name is Rachel, and I'm currently a 22-year-old who just graduated from UCLA. I studied communications, film, and English, and I'm from the Bay Area.
I'm Anna, and I'm also a recent UCLA grad. I studied business economics and accounting, and I'm also from the Bay Area. And we're both currently back in the Bay Area because of quarantine. And I'm 21, so starting our 20-somethings.
So we created this podcast in order to really document some of our experiences through college, to share some of our struggles, and to kind of reflect on a lot of the things that we faced during college and beyond.
For us, like right now, we're entering this new phase for ourselves, which is our post-grad life. And it's kind of, we wanted to look back on how far we've come and also continue to document where we're going and how we're growing ourselves in this process, especially in our 20s, which is a very exciting time, but it's also very different right now for us.
For our first topic, we wanted to discuss transitioning to college from high school. So literally for me and my family, I packed up all my things in the Bay Area. We stuffed it in our car and then we just drove down. And I had seen our school one or two times beforehand, but I never really experienced living in LA before. And it was definitely a new experience for me. Anna, how did literally physically moving to UCLA go for you?
I had a pretty similar experience as you. Also moved my stuff down from the Bay. My parents helped me move in, and I think it was just really exciting because when you move in, they have all those welcome to the dorm activities, and then I knew one of my roommates beforehand, but I met my second roommate there, so that was exciting to get to know someone new. Basically, because I feel roommates are kind of your first friends or people you interact with in college.
I agree. I think for me, I had two roommates, and one of them was a random roommate, and the other roommate I met online through Facebook. So there was this time period when everyone would be posting on Facebook with a list of their preferences and habits and things like that. And so I really clicked with this one girl who was also from the Bay Area, and we were chatting and stuff like that. And it seemed like she could be a really great roommate. And she was a great roommate, but it was weird, I think, especially we'll talk a little bit more about the social transitioning, but I think it was weird initially because she met her boyfriend within 2 weeks of moving in to UCLA. So she kind of found an instant best friend, and I was really hoping we could be friends, and she already found someone. So it was kind of a tough process. Trying to meet people socially, I guess, because I thought my roommate would definitely be one of my core friends, but that wasn't the case for me. But also just adjusting to dorm life was very interesting too. I think that's something that's a big transition because at least in the Bay at home, I was fortunate enough to have my own room throughout high school and most of elementary school. But going to college, there were 3 people stuffed into one cramped room. And then I had a private bathroom too, but it was only cleaned once a week or something like that. So it was definitely a change of pace. I don't know if dorm life was a struggle for you to transition into, Anna, but you lived in Sproul, right? So it was a little bit of more of a freshman dorm where maybe people were more social. I don't know.
Yeah, so I lived in the very typical classic dorm that you see on movies where literally we all had shared bathrooms, and literally I lived in a triple, so me and my 2 roommates, and literally the size of the room was a little bigger than maybe my room at home. So it was pretty cramped because everyone was just in there and basically our whole life was in there. But I want to say that the good thing about living in one of these classic dorms is that my floor, everyone who walked by would say hi to each other. And then since everyone was freshmen, everyone tried to do all the welcome activities together. And then people would hang out in the lounge. So you get to meet people. And then that was really nice because I think everyone coming in, you don't know anyone. And then everyone, I feel is excited, but you're also scared on the inside because it's like a new environment and you're just adjusting to it. Yeah.
But okay, so we kind of talked about roommates, but I'm wondering like should we address, I guess, some of like the roommate struggles that we've had or like challenges? I can talk about like a little bit of mine. Initially, I mean, I kind of touched on it already. Like one of my roommates that I met through Facebook, she already like found her boyfriend early on, which was like totally cool because she's a really sweet girl, etc. And actually, that's how I met Anna. So good thing that I was her roommate. And then my other roommate actually happened to be an international student from China, and her living habits were like probably not on par with like most people's. I'm not sure. Uh, she kind of had like really severe allergies or something like that. So she was like constantly blowing her nose, which isn't like a big deal or anything, but she would like leave her tissues all over our dorm, which was like very disturbing because like I would walk in and like on my dresser, there'd be like 5 tissues and I'm like, those aren't mine. So like that's a little creepy and I don't want to throw them away for you. So there was that initially right off the bat that like I don't know, it's hard, I think, to vibe with a roommate when you guys don't have like the same habits in terms of cleanliness. I think it's hard to look past that sometimes and be like, oh, right, like they're still a person, but like it's harder to become friends with them. I don't know if you face anything like similar to that with your freshman year roommates, Anna, or I don't know.
I guess every room probably has their own struggles, and definitely like trying to like adjust to each other's like living habits was one of the biggest things, because like at home, like you live with your family, and I've been living with my family since I was born, so like we are all adjusted to how we all like go about our everyday. But then in our room, like one of my roommates was a night owl, and then my other roommate was more of like a morning bird, and I was more of a morning bird too. So like there would be problems with like when would the lights go out, and then even if the lights go out, like someone's lamp is on, so then like it would be like, oh, like you just have to adjust to that, or like make sure that the lamp is facing another way, away from someone else who's sleeping. And then one of my roommates is like super extroverted and like would always speak her mind about like everything, which was like good. But then me and my other roommate were more of like the type that like don't really like confrontation. So sometimes like she would call us out on things, but then we would not really want to call her out on things. But so there were like some little things here and there. And then I think in the beginning, like when everyone was in the room, then there was like more problems since you like share the same space every day. But then like, I guess as freshman year went on and everyone got busier with like classes and having like extracurriculars and things like that, then like the time you have together in the room isn't as much. And then you just kind of get used to it over time. So things got better over time.
I mean, initially, I think also with roommates, like when you first start living with someone, like you don't know their full habits yet. So it's like no one wants to step on each other's toes. Everyone's like super nice. But then the longer you live with them, you have to really like balance that living dynamic and like compromise and figure out like the best way to sort of live with like 2 other people that, you don't really know. And especially like for us coming from like homes where we always had our like family with us and had our own rooms and things like that, it was just very, very different. So yeah, I agree with that. But we can also maybe talk about another big change when moving into dorm life, which is like dining halls. And then maybe like the idea of like, I don't know, I think a lot of people have this perception of like freshman 15, which for me like was kind of real actually. But for dining halls, like special shout out, especially at UCLA, like to our favorite dining hall, which is B Plate or Bruin Plate. Literally our favorite place in the world. How would you describe the food, Anna? Like, I don't know, how would you describe the menu there?
Like, I feel like people always think that B Plate is like super healthy, like it never fills you up. But I'm like, me and Rachel love this place so much. I feel like it has so much variety of everything that you can just get it there, and you don't have, I personally don't think it's like super healthy where it's like I'm eating grass or anything. But because I know like the other dining halls, like they would have more of like fried things or oily things, but then I don't feel like B Plate didn't like not have like dessert or things like that. So I feel like it was always a good balance of things. And we always loved our B Plate brunch on weekends because we always had super bomb pancakes and scrambled eggs. I don't even know why we love the scrambled eggs so much. in the omelet bar, we would wait like half an hour for an omelet.
I love the omelet bar. I feel it. Yeah, like B plate, I guess, like I think it's described as this like farm to table sort of like Americanized like style food. But I think like I guess what really just resonated with me about that place was just like honestly getting a plate of vegetables and rice, like that slaps. I don't know why, but it like really does. I think like maybe that kind of ties back to like what I used to eat at home, like when I lived at home, because my mom would just cook rice and then some like vegetable stir fry and maybe a little bit of meat, and then we would just eat that, and it would be like a pretty simple like Chinese meal, I would say. But like going to school at UCLA, we have like we're lucky enough to have like one of the best dining halls in the nation, I think, and we have so many options. There's lots of like other things like you mentioned, like greasier foods or like Covel or Deneuve, which are like more like southern type food. You can get fried chicken, you can get pasta, you can get potatoes or all those like French fries, that type of thing. Or you can go to like Cafe 1919 and get pizzas and gelato. But like I think after the initial like phase of like being a freshman and like trying all these foods, and like I just kind of wanted to return to like my day-to-day like home cooked meals that my mom would make me. And I guess the thing that was like the most similar to it would have to be B plate. So that is why B plate holds a special place in my heart.
So I guess a big part of college, but also specifically freshman year, is like meeting new people, because, you know, we come to campus and we don't really know anyone yet. And it's just like your first time like making new friends here in college. So Rachel, do you have any like stories of like how you actually like started making, how you made your first friend, whether it was like class or like a club or anything?
Yeah, I'm trying to think about my first friend in college. And honestly, I think my first friend in college I made actually through orientation. So prior to like actually starting school, we would be like clumped into like orientation groups, and you would go to UCLA for like a weekend or something like that. And then they would make you do all these like bonding activities to get to know people in your major. And I met one girl in my major, and she happened to be in like a ton of my classes like all throughout those 4 years. So she was definitely one of my first friends. But I would say that I like had this expectation, especially freshman year, of like meeting new people in classes or meeting new people in clubs in different environments, and thinking like, okay, like this person is going to be like my friend, or we're going to be in a squad and like we're going to get tight, or something like that. But like that never really happened. Like we always remained kind of like surface level friends, like especially that girl that I met at orientation. Like we knew each other throughout the entire experience of college, but we never really got deep or like beyond kind of like, oh, did you do the homework today? Like, oh, like, you know, we text each other about that type of stuff, but nothing like super serious. And I think when you're in high school and like in elementary school, you kind of have like these friends already, like that you've had like growing up a lot of the times. And that's what that was the case for me. So I just kind of like ran in the same circle. So when I was trying to meet new people, I was like, okay, maybe this person will be the person that like I will hang out with for like, you know, for the duration of my college experience. But a lot of that was like trial and error. I'd meet new people. I think we'd click. And then like, you know, we never really hung out after that. Or we would get a meal together in a dining hall, and then we never really hung out after that. So it was like a lot of like trying to figure out like, you know, who really clicks with you. And I think like a misconception that a lot of like freshmen have is that like you actually make friends like in class, or you try really hard to make friends in class. So like whoever you sit next to in like a 200-person lecture, you like really try and chat with, and you're like, hey, what's your name, blah blah blah, I'm a freshman. And then like looking back as a senior, I'm like, oh god, like it's so embarrassing.
I think for me, the first friend I would say I met at UCLA was actually a girl that I met at Bruin Day. So Bruin Day is like the day where like after you get your acceptance letter in high school, and then it's like the open house touring UCLA day. And I actually met her that day, and then we like exchanged phone numbers, and I was like, oh, okay. And I just like after that day, I like texted her like, oh, it was like nice meeting you. Like hopefully we'll like she wasn't even sure if she was gonna like come to UCLA either. Like she was deciding between UCLA and some other schools. I was like, oh, like who knows if she's even gonna come to UCLA. But then when school started, I like texted her again, and we like met up to eat. And then like we actually like hung out a few times throughout the year, and actually became like good friends, even though she was like a completely different major and like did different clubs. So it was like, I think in college, like you meet people from so many different circles, which is very different because I feel like in high school, like, or at least the high school I went to, like everyone knew each other because it was like the local high school in our suburb. And like everyone from that high school also went to the same middle school. So everyone already had like their cliques all formed. But then in college, it's like you completely start over. And like, especially at UCLA, which is like such a big school, like really no one knows each other. And there's no real like social pyramid hierarchy type of thing as in high school. So it was like meeting new people was really different. And then I'd say I met some people in classes, and then we like would hang out like during that quarter, like when we had the class. And then the next quarter when we had different classes, it was like, oh, like we should hang out soon. And then like no plans were ever made. But I guess, yeah, it's just like you meet so many people, and then like some people stay and some people move on. So
yeah, I mean, not just like in classes too, but even in clubs and extracurriculars. I think like freshman year anyway, I joined like the Association of Chinese Americans. I remember doing that. And like in kind of in hopes of like trying to find people. And like initially they would like separate everyone in families or groups. And then like I thought I vibed really well with my family and my group, but like we would hang out initially for like, I guess like for like the first quarter, we like hung out at least a couple times every week. And I thought I was getting along really well. We'd have parties and like I had a lot of my first drinking experiences with them. And then like later on, like by winter or spring quarter, like the group chat was dead. Like maybe one person would be like, hey, anyone want to get food? And it would just be like, everyone left them on red. So like things kind of like sizzle out or like fade away, I guess. So it kind of like reminded me of when you were talking about how like you're friends with someone during a quarter that you have class with. And then after that, things kind of just like die down and like, you know, dissipate. But yeah, I don't know. Did you join any like other clubs when you were, I mean, I know you're part of Spoon University, which is a club that like I joined later on, and I stalked Anna to kind of get to know her through that club actually. But I know you were in like some other clubs as well.
so Spoon was like my main thing I was involved in freshman year because I found it like fall quarter when I just got there. And then I also, okay, I feel like freshman year was so long ago, but I joined a volunteer income tax assistant, which was like helping students and people in our community file taxes because they like came into my econ class to like give an announcement on that. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I should do something that's like, you know, closer to what my major is, but also wanted to be more involved with like community service. And then I think I joined like I went to like a few like random meetings because my friends or my roommates went to certain club meetings, but it was just like, oh, to like get to know the club, but I didn't like actually like get involved with those, which I think was probably a bad thing because I'm like, you know, freshman year is when you should like, you know, when you have a lot of like time to like go and meet people and like everyone, I guess like freshman year, like everyone is in like such a scramble to like meet people and like everyone has that like intention, not like a bad thing or anything, but I think that's the time when everyone like is looking for new friends. But then like as you move on, it's like people start to like find their clutter already and then they're not as open later on.
But we should also talk about kind of how we met because we met our freshman year actually. And how did we meet? Okay, so we were in a class together. We were in Econ 1 and we had a mutual friend. And this friend was friends with my roommate, I guess you could say. But to give more context, I did stalk Anna online prior to actually meeting her in real life. So I like saw her post on Facebook because I think she was looking for a roommate at the time for the following year. And I saw that she was a part of this club called Spoon University. And Spoon was basically, or is basically this food publication made for college students. And you know, you get to try a bunch of different foods and you get to take photos of food and like write articles or make videos or photos, things like that. And it was like a really kind of fun club. that really catered to our foodie interests, I guess you could say. So I stalked her and I saw that she was a part of this club. I saw her Instagram and I was like, oh my God, this girl looks like someone I could be friends with or someone I could vibe with. And so we were in econ one day, and then Brandon, he's our mutual friend, he was like, hey, Rachel, do you want to like sit with us? Because you and Brandon always sat together like what, in, like the second row to the right or something of that lecture hall. And I would always sit like a few rows back because I was like by myself and like a loner. and then Brandon invited me to like sit with you guys, and I was like, oh my God, yeah, like I'd be honored. And then that is how I met Anna in real life. And then from there we kind of just like, I don't know, I guess we kind of just like started talking about Spoon, and then we started talking about like food, which is like something that we have in common. And then we started hanging out. We went to like Smorgasburg. We did Museum of Ice Cream. We did like a lot of fun things our freshman year. A lot of fun hangouts, and we explored a lot of LA together. But that's like how we met, which is interesting because like I talked about how like it's kind of difficult to meet friends through class, but somehow we kind of met through class and we made it work. So
I remember like, I feel like Brandon would always say hi to you in class for like the first like 4 weeks or something. And then like in the middle of the quarter, he was like, do you want to sit with us? And then you came and sat with us. And then I remember you asked me to hang out. Like, I don't remember if you asked me like in person or if you like texted me. And I was like, oh my God, she's so cool. She asked me to hang out. Oh my God. And I was like, okay, of course I'm down. And then I think I feel like the first time we hung out was when we went to eat at the study.
Yes, we went to get pizza. They had like a build your own pizza thing at the study, which is one of the dining venues on the hill. Yeah.
I remember that. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then like we started just making plans to do a lot of like foodie things together. And then I think that's like one of the important things of like how friendships work in general is just like both people have to like put in the effort and like be interested in like trying to maintain this friendship, especially in college where like everyone's busy doing their own thing. But we maintained it through many years, and we're here making our podcast together.
It's funny when you say that. It's like, it's definitely a mutual effort, like both people contributing. And like Anna and I've had this like conversation about relationships anyways, and like we call it this thing of like mutual whip where like both people need to be invested and like both whipped by their partners in order to like make a relationship work. And I think it applies to like friendships too. Like, you know, we both have to like message each other, text each other, and like find time in our calendars and our schedules for each other. So I guess like that's kind of like the secrets to making a friendship last, I guess, and maybe in my opinion, I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So we kind of addressed like meeting new people, whether that be through class or joining clubs and extracurriculars, and then kind of like how we found each other and like kind of found our friends. But I guess, you know, when you do meet new people, one of the big things is like how you present yourself, whether that be in terms of like clothing or makeup. And I think in college, a lot of people try and reinvent themselves because they are like, wow, this is like a new era of my life, a new chapter, and like nobody knows the old me. So like this is a time for me to try something new. So I don't know, Anna, did you like do anything differently when you went to college that maybe you didn't necessarily do when you were in high school?
I think appearance wise, I probably was the same. Like I think I would just put in more effort into like matching my outfits or like picking my outfit out before I go to class or like certain events where I see people. Because I'm like, I'd say like back in high school, I didn't care that much about like how I looked or a certain way, because I feel like a lot of my friends like I didn't really care about things like that. And then I think coming to UCLA, like I didn't feel like I needed to like do certain things to how I looked for people to like me better, because I feel like I will still find my people.
for me anyway, like when I went to college, I definitely like maintained the same wardrobe anyway. Like I was really lazy. I was like, I'm not about to like find new clothes. I'm very comfortable in the clothing that I'm currently wearing. And like for me, that was like jeans or like whatever graphic t-shirt I had at the time. It wasn't anything like crazy. And I think like towards the end of high school, I started wearing a little bit more makeup, trying to like do my eyebrows and like practice eyeliner. And then there was like a phase where I like wore a lot of falsies in high school, but like then I realized that was just like too much effort and like no way. So like when I went freshman year into college, I like tried to keep it minimal like in terms of makeup, and I would just do eyebrows and like eyeliner. Um, and then like as college has progressed, I think I've gotten like worse with makeup, if anything. Like I don't ever wear eyeliner anymore because I'm like, it's so much effort. Like, why do I bother? And now that we're in quarantine, I'm like, what is makeup? But yeah, I think initially like presenting myself, I definitely was more like self-conscious, I guess, like freshman year in college. I was like, gotta make a good impression, gotta look cute. If I need to find a boyfriend, whatever. But honestly, like at the end of the day, I think that's like important to be like, it's important to be authentic and like find people who really just value you for like who you are, and like you shouldn't have to change yourself physically or even like personality wise too, to find people that resonate with you or are a good fit for you. So that, yeah, that makes sense too.
I know, like, I mean, from what we've been saying, like, we didn't really change ourselves, like, physically to fit in with people, but do you think you changed, like, personality-wise or, like, coming out of your shell-wise? Because I know me and you are both more on the introvert end.
My natural state of being is more quiet and, like, not as talkative, and I think if you put me in an environment with more people, I am more likely to, like, clam up or not say as much as I normally would. But in smaller groups, I feel like I have a little bit more confidence and I can talk a little bit more. But in terms of like when I first met new people through orientation or through clubs, especially like a lot of clubs on campus, they're not like the traditional sorority fraternity type things, but like we have career fraternities and like business fraternities, so they're oriented around that. And so I would go to those mixer events or those networking events and talk to like a lot of people, and the expectation is like you have to mingle, you have to meet everyone, otherwise there's no way you're going to actually like get into the club, because like they have to like talk to you and think you're cool and like want you to be in the club. So I think in those events in particular, I definitely was more extroverted than I normally am. Like I would go up to people and introduce myself and like be like, hey, my name is Rachel. But I think the environment was kind of conducive to that because everyone was like going up and like introducing themselves, and like everyone was wanting to meet new people. So it was okay and it made sense. But in terms of just like yeah, enhancing my personality with like people that I did know, yeah, I tried to be on more like as an introvert, like I like to go in my room sometimes and just like be on my computer and like listen to music and like do my own thing. But I was like, okay, like if anyone asks me to hang out, I can't turn down that opportunity. I need to go out, I need to meet people, I need to go to all these events like Bruin Bash or like other things that were being hosted by UCLA. Or if there's like a kickback, I have to go. I have to, otherwise it's gonna be like FOMO. And I think I like definitely tried to make myself seem more extroverted than I really was. And then as the years like went on, again, that kind of cooled down. So kind of like my appearance and like makeup falling off, or not falling off, but like, you know, just kind of like declining. So did a little bit of my like social activity, because I realized, you know, there are only like a certain core number of people that I genuinely enjoy hanging out with, and I'd rather like dedicate my time to those individuals rather than just like trying to spread myself thin and not be fake necessarily, but not be as authentic to who I really am. So, yeah.
No, I definitely agree with you on like basically all of that, since we're like very similar on that. And I mean, even today, I'm still very introverted, but I'd say like, so I guess like coming into college, like I forced myself to like, you know, like go try out different clubs, go meet people, and like I would still be introverted. Like it is like hard for me to just like go up to a new crowd and just like, you know, like talk a lot, and like I'm always kind of like the more quiet one. But then I think because I mean I knew that like, you know, if I'm gonna be here for 4 years, like I need to like make my time worth it and like actually like put myself out there, or else I'm just always going to be in my room, which is like not what college is about. And so I'd say like, I feel like this is kind of contradicting, but I feel like if I go to like a networking event or like a mixer or something where I don't know people at all, then I'm like, I try to act more extroverted. But then like once you get to know me and like we're closer friends, then I'm like pretty introverted because I'm like, oh, like you actually know who I am, versus like at a mixer or something where I can just like pretend I'm someone else, pretend that I'm more extroverted than I actually am. But I'd say definitely going through college and freshman year, like you kind of like shed off some layers of your shell, even though there's still a shell. But just it's like easier to like, because I think like in college, or this kind of like relates back to how I said how in my high school, like everyone knew each other. So I feel like in high school, like everyone kind of already has this like preconceived idea of like who everyone is, like everyone's like labeled a certain way. But then in college, like you have so much time and you can do so much to like change what your label actually is. And like people don't actually like care like if you're like cool or super popular or things like that. So I think in college, like it was like a chance to start over.
So for our final question, that'll kind of wrap up our freshman year at college, is if you could redo your first year, what would you have done differently? Or would you have done anything differently?
I mean, I had a really good and pretty smooth freshman experience. So I definitely like very like value those memories, and would definitely like advice that everyone's gonna say, which is like put yourself out there more. And I think like that sense, like in that sense, like socially, like, you know, like I always tell people now who are like underclassmen, like, oh, like if you're trying to like find a new like club to go to every like meeting that you're like slightly interested in, like don't doubt yourself or like cut yourself from opportunities, because there's so much that happens and you never know like who you're going to meet, or like even though this might not be like the club that was right for you, like it might lead you to something else down the way. And I think another thing is have more fun. I think if I could go back, I would have done more like freshman things, like probably like exploring LA more, or like going to like sporting events more, things like that. Because I think like freshman year, like everyone's like very into those things, and it's like easy to like, you know, go with your floor, like groups of friends. And I think that part comes with like, you know, like having fun. But I mean, definitely like don't like, you know, don't put yourself down like academically just to have more fun. Because I think one of the good things was that like I didn't focus all my time on studying, but I did like take academics seriously. So then like I wouldn't be behind, like I would have a cushion for later on. And I think getting to know like yourself, because I think in freshman year, like it was hard adjusting to like kind of building your own schedule every day, or schedule in the sense that like, oh, like know when is like time to study, but also like know when's time to like hang out or like talk to a friend. And because those things like you can't go back and do right now. And like when I look back, I don't remember studying or grades or anything. I remember like conversations I had with people, you know, hang out with people. So yeah, what about you, Rachel?
I think mine are fairly similar. I mean, in terms of like going out and like putting yourself out there, I think for me, like one of the first things that I would like actually do is like sign up for a different style of dorm, which is more of like a concrete change, I guess you could say. Because I signed up for like a dorm that had a private bathroom, and it was very isolating. It was just like the three of us, and I didn't really click with those girls that much. And I think maybe living in more of a freshman style dorm where there's that shared bathroom and a shared study space, I think that could have been really helpful for me, especially to meet new people and meet new friends. So that's like one concrete thing that I would definitely change. And like, if I could go back to UCLA, I would live in a hall instead. And then in terms of other things that I would change or advice I'd have for people would be like, another one is to like not take yourself too seriously, because I think I did that a lot. And by that I mean like I would meet new people and I would say like, okay, I think these people are going to be my new squad. Like I really need a squad. Like I think everyone in college has like a group of friends and these are going to be the people. And I would try and put a lot of effort into like making that happen, or I would invest a lot and be like, yeah, this is going to be it. Like these are my friends. These are going to be my friends for the next 3 years. And like looking back on that, that like did not happen at all. Like, you know, like friend groups change, things evolve, even like the clubs that you're a part of change too. So I would just say like, you don't necessarily have to be so serious and so invested in everything. Like, you know, just realize that things will shift and will change inevitably, but it's okay to feel like you don't know where you are exactly yet. And like, don't be like too hard on yourself and don't be too serious. You know, it's like, it's okay. And then the last thing, I think that's like, for me anyway, I've always been kind of like a self-conscious person. But I think going into college, I was especially self-conscious about like how I presented myself to other people or like what other people thought of me. So I guess my last word of advice would be like, you know, don't worry about it. Like, honestly, people will look back. And I mean, I look back on myself in my freshman year and I'm like, LOL, like no one cared what I was doing. Like, but I thought like the whole world was watching me. And like, now I look back, I'm like, whatever, like that was just, you know, not, I like brush it off and it really wasn't that bad. Or like if something embarrassing happened to me, like no one remembers these things. So, you know, don't be like too hard on yourself and don't be like too self-conscious. And I would say that's kind of like, those are the things that I would definitely change if I could go back to my freshman year. So yeah. So I think that's like about it, right? Unless Anna, you have anything else to add.
Yeah, no, that's about it. So this
Okay.
kind of wraps up our episode on a few more of these to kind of talk a little more about how we've changed throughout college up until senior year. But I think we'll also have other content, hopefully that's like aligned more with like post-grad or our 20s, other topics as well.
Yeah. And I mean, this is just kind of a summary of our freshman year, like you mentioned. So we'll do a couple more parts and we'll address like all other sorts of things. So stay tuned and we hope you guys enjoyed this first episode.
Bye.
Do we say bye? Let me get my shit together and breathe.
This is going in the video.
I know.
You know what? I'll just start wherever.